How do you deal with anxiety and nervousness when facing new things or environments? I would love to hear your advice.
I will say, I don't think there's a single thing in this world that I despise more than change. I hate change so much. I want everything to stay the same forever. I want it to be predictable and boring. But with that feeling, I also know and feel very strongly that change is very important, and change is often very good. Even if change doesn't immediately feel good, it usually results in good later down the line. So it's important to take that in stride and not think too much about, how things feel right now if it's not so good.
It's very easy when you're in a new environment, right? It's scary. You don't know what to do. Or sometimes you're in an environment where you have to do 15 different things all at once in a very short time, right? Like this is something that would overwhelm anybody in any industry or any circumstance, right? But when it comes to change, when it comes to what you would do, I think it's really easy, right? We are so smart. Everybody here is so smart, right? Humans are smart. Like we have like the big picture in mind. So we see everything in a big picture. But all you really have to do is take that one small step, right? Just do the thing that's most successful, the first step, and then focus on all the other things. Because you can only really handle one thing at a time. So just do one thing at a time. It's hard. The stress is there. It's never going to escape. It's never going to leave. But one step at a time, and the journey feels shorter.
One foot in front of the other.
Yep.
Yeah, I can completely agree.
I'm actually pretty okay with change, I would say. But that's because I feel like I have things that I value that are constant, that are very difficult to change, I suppose. For me, finding stuff that grounds me during change, I tend to go back to that the most, right? So I say I like change, but as I'm speaking it more, I think maybe it's just that I found a way to counteract change with the unchanging, right? So I guess that's kind of it. Is finding something that grounds you during change is what helps me the most. Yeah.
Yeah, because otherwise it can be very overwhelming, right?
Yeah.
In my experience, I feel like when change isn't coming, not when it happens, but when you know it's going to happen or you know it needs to happen, it's very easy to think about it and get overwhelmed and just not look forward to it at all. Just dread the idea of it coming. I feel like sometimes it's better to just, like Sable said, one step at a time, just start incorporating it. And when you do it in steps, when you realize that it's really not as bad as you thought, then I think it's way more digestible. Because usually it's more like the mental aspect of preparing for it that's the scariest.
Yeah.
But something I like to think about is, does this have a solution? If so, then there's no need to worry about it. Then does it not have a solution? Then you can't do anything about it. So there's nothing to worry about. That's a good way of grounding yourself, I think.
Yeah.
Hey, by the beat. When you hit a creative block, is it better to push through or take a break to reset? I'm currently in a fashion design course and found stepping back helped me when I felt stuck. What about you guys?
For me, I would say, especially if you're early on in the creative process, right, where you haven't quite found a solution for just powering through, taking a break is crucial, I think. I am a huge believer of the idea that with creative works, there's two phases to it, right? There's a phase of creation and a phase of consumption, for lack of a better term. So it's kind of like an outtake and an intake, right? You need inspiration at some point where you're not worrying so hard about what you're creating, and then you have time to create afterwards, right? So for me, if I'm ever starting to feel burnt out, I feel like the best course of action is to just sit back, not worry about what I'm making, and just enjoy the work, not as a creator, but as just a fan of it, right? So in the case of music, just start listening to it, not from an analytical sense or anything like that, just to enjoy it, right? And it kind of gives me a fresh perspective, personally.
I think this is a hard one that really depends. Are you doing this as a recreational activity or are you doing this for a living? Is this your career?
That's huge.
Yeah, that's true.
That's huge. That is supremely important.
Can you afford yourself to take a break to reset?
That's
the
question.
question.
Major point too, yes.
I've found that what works for me It's kind of like an in-between, doing something else, but something that is productive or something that is adjacent to it. For example, if I'm having trouble singing, sometimes what I need in order to make that work is to just sing something else. I need to open another file. I need to record something different. Or if I'm having trouble designing something, sometimes I just need to design literally anything else, or plan anything else, or write anything else. Sometimes it's just not in that specific area, and you need to get the juices flowing elsewhere so that you can go full steam ahead when you're ready to come back. That's what I think.
Honestly, like, I think it's like one thing probably is like, you know, just like I really don't like to say this, but like the mind muscle connection.
What's that mean?
You know, like it's like thinking about like, you know, how you know, I'm gonna take this in like a very broad sense, but like your body and your mind are connected, right? So if you're kind of holed up and doing like one thing constantly and doing that one thing only, right? I think it could benefit from doing something completely different, right? Like, and taking care of your body too, I think creates like a better foundation for whatever you do mentally as well, like whatever you're thinking, whatever you're trying to create when in like a creative process, right? So as a baseline, and this is like a step back or a step out, it's like treating your body right, right? And also treating your mind right as well through that, I think will help prevent a little bit of that creator's block to happen from the get-go, right? Just taking care of yourself. Also, like, I think to add to like that creative block, there are times I think where you will have creative inspiration. And if it is like part of your job, maybe kind of, if you're in that zone, maybe try and like stock up in that like moment of things, of just simple ideas, core ideas. Then you can revisit when you do have a creative block. So the past you could help the future you as well.
Even just writing like a memo or a note
Yeah.
about that idea you have could really be useful way later on.
Yeah.
And I also agree with Sable's and everyone's suggestion of being healthy, but also mentally healthy. I think it's important to be nice to yourself.
Yes.
Because this is like a very common audio engineering term, but a finished mix is way better than a perfect mix.
Oh, I think that's true in so many creative mediums. I feel like a finished blank is better than a perfect blank is such a good saying. Yeah.
There is no such thing as a perfect mix.
And this is going to be a little bit more on the like the tougher but with good intentions kind of message. But especially when it comes to people making like these creative areas their career, discipline is going to be way more important than inspiration because your client cannot rely on you to not be on a block, to always be inspired. So I think it's everyone's responsibility, including us, to find a way to ground ourselves, to be consistent with our work, and also to be able to know when we are able to take a break, to step back, and like Seal said, remember why we enjoy these things in the first place. The moment it becomes only a source of stress, then I think it's important to remember why we're here, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe not with inspiration, maybe not with getting out of a block, but with motivation.
Just getting as far as you have already is something to be very proud of. So don't get caught up in the frivolities, you know? Don't get too hung up on the smaller things that don't really matter.
Oh, just one more real quick one. I think a lot of people can be guilty of this, but it would be really good to treat yourself like you would treat a good friend. And I'm assuming that you already treat your good friends well, but it's very easy to treat yourself not as well or not well in general. Just think about it. If you're treating yourself in a way that is not positive, just think about how you would treat a good friend and treat yourself in the same way. Growing up or growing older, how did things get easier for you? And how did you stay strong mentally to reach where you are now?
I think for growing up and growing older, things really do. I think the easiest thing to realize is that things really do get easier with experience. People say that a lot. They're like, oh, you'll be more experienced in, you know, such and such, but it is so true. For me, a lot of the stuff that I deal with in my ancient old age, you know, a lot of the things that come at me, you know, I can correlate to other experiences I've already had or things that I've already done and be like, I've gotten through this, so I can get through this type of deal, right? Or I can use this knowledge from this scenario to go into this one. And it really is just the getting out there, doing stuff, being brave when being faced with new challenges. And then the more that you are brave, the easier it is as time goes on because you get those experiences. You get that experience. That's how I live my life, I guess.
I think the future is just going to stay uncertain and nothing you can do about that. Unfortunately, you cannot change that. You can do certain things in the present to increase the likelihood of certain futures. You can do hard work today so that you can take it easier tomorrow. But ultimately, you never know exactly what's going to come at the end of the road. I think what has helped for me over the years is to try my best and reframe what uncertainty means for me. I think naturally as humans, we feel a sense of fear when we don't know what something is or how it works or what it's going to be. But over the years, I've come to a point where I find it kind of exciting. I've tried to reframe it more as something that I can learn from because I love to learn. I love to be exposed to new ideas and to new experiences. So in the infinite, scary, terrifying, yet infinite potential of the future, I may encounter lots of interesting and fun things. And I think on the flip side, specifically as it comes to the subject of growing up, growing older, I think just as the future is uncertain, I think when we're younger, there's a lot that we don't really understand about ourselves yet for most of us. I think it can take time to develop a sense of who you are and what you stand for and what you want. So I think that gets easier with time too, just by virtue of growing older, right? As you see new things and experience new things, you kind of learn a new thing about yourself each time, I think. And as I've gotten like a firmer sense of who Calyx is, I felt a sense of comfort in that too. Even if the future is uncertain and even if everything around me is uncertain, I know who I am. And that's enough. I think that's something that anybody could be proud of.
For me, I can relate a lot to Seal's answer about experience, I think. I do not believe in fate. I am not everything happens for a reason kind of person. But I think everything that's happened is not for naught. Every single mistake, every single embarrassing moment, every single experience, positive, negative, it becomes a teacher of some way, of some sort. So it's always something that's going to help you be more experienced the day of tomorrow. And that experience as well can lead you to be more open to facing future experiences. I think that understanding that has been really important, and being able to accept and acknowledge and respect those vulnerabilities, those mistakes, those embarrassing moments is something that made me understand that it's natural and it can only serve as a way for us to be a better person tomorrow than we are today.
Time is limited, right? We all, have not long when you really think about it, right? Like there's a limit to how many seasons that you can enjoy if you enjoy seasons where you're at, right? There is a limit to it. We don't live forever. And when we're very young, you don't see as much of that. And then also what you do see is just everything all at once coming at you, just bombarding you, right? It's hard to keep up, because you're just trying to overcome every single challenge that you face in that moment, right? But on top of that, you have your own expectations of who you want to be and who you are. And I feel like that's also like the worst. If it's in a positive light, it's great. But if it's in a negative light, it's the worst enemy that you could have. It's yourself, right? And because you have so many expectations of yourself, you tend to, drag yourself down potentially, right? But I feel like there's a point where you start realizing that like you just need to live every day. Just enjoy every day. That's all. That's all that it is. There's so much expectation. There's so much hope that you might have for yourself. You feel like you need to be somewhere, or you feel like you need to be someone. Like all of this, like it's all nothing. You just need to be yourself for today, and then enjoy today. Enjoy what today has for you. Enjoy what tomorrow has for you, because time is limited, and you don't have enough time to spend your life terrified of what life can offer you. There's just not enough time for that. So let's just enjoy today. Let's just enjoy the company that we have, enjoy the loved ones that we share our time with, and enjoy who you are, because you are who you are meant to be.